Hello, everybody. Welcome to Take the Black Live, the one and only show on the entire internet, all time, future and past, where we dare to talk about things like celebrities having babies and geopolitical controversies that span history, nations, science fiction stories, and streaming services. We're going to talk about Disney casting and Game of Thrones oral history books, all the topics that frankly, the lamestream media, I just coined that term, are too afraid to discuss. I am Dan Selcke of winteriscoming.net, and I'm here with my co-host. Who are you?
Hi, I am Mia Johnson, editor over on Dork Side of the Force. Is this my first time here? This is all so new, isn't it? No.
I don't have like a smooth transition to say like I'm Dan Selcke of this, and I'm here with, and also then you say it, but I don't know like how to tee you off
I'm
properly.
also awful at introductions, so I think this is perfect for the both of us.
Okay, I think it'll be awkward. I mean, I feel like I've done like my like we're the one and only show. That's kind of a thing,
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
we'll it's all developing. Anyway, thanks people who are here to watch us. Anybody's out there, feel free to comment either on the YouTube stream or the Facebook post, and we'll be glad to talk to you. As Mix say, hi, hey Mix, good to see you.
Ew.
And I agree for sure. We are the bravest. We're controversial yet brave. But we're going to start this show with something I think pretty simple. Just a feel-good story before we get into some rather heavy stuff later on, or at least rather naughty, interesting, kind of complicated stuff. Straight up, straightforward, fun times. Sophie Turner, aka Sansa Stark from the Game of Thrones, has had her baby with husband Joe Jonas, but the other day she just decided to post some pregnancy selfies of herself on Instagram. And it's just nice. It's just cool to see a Game of Thrones star or just like kind of any, just basically someone that we know so well from the show, just fully pregnant, living her truth. Looks great.
Oh, it's
And
so sweet.
it's just fun, isn't it? That these kind of people you grew up with, or not grew up with, like you watch grow up on the screen. It's almost surreal to
Yeah,
like see. Like I was watching her as young Sansa Stark when
I
she was
know.
like 13 years old, and now she's going to have a baby.
I know. I think she's younger than me too by like a year,
I think
maybe.
so.
Which is like, oh my goodness, I could not imagine myself like right now in that position. But I'm like, it's nice to see her like you said, growing up before our very own eyes. It's like,
Yes.
our very own. Oh gosh, they grow up so fast, don't they?
And maybe even more interesting is I think Rose Leslie, who's married to Kit Harington. Rose Leslie
Yeah.
played Ygritte on Game of Thrones, the Wildling, and Kit Harington, of course, was Jon Snow. She posed for Make magazine. Never heard of it before, but sure. And she revealed that she's pregnant. So basically, this is going to be Jon Snow and Ygritte's baby, the one they didn't have because they couldn't be together because they were from different worlds. And then she died in battle, and
I
he cradled her in
know.
her arms.
I know. We
Well,
finally get to see that timeline fulfilled. What could have been, huh?
yes, there were some fun tweets going around like, "Oh my god, that baby will have Wildling and Targaryen blood together. He'll be unstoppable." Stuff like that. It's fun. That's really all I had to say about it, by
Awesome.
the way. I
That's
don't have any
awesome.
deep
I like
insights
this
into
dress
this.
that she's got going, though, by the way.
Yeah, it's
I
cool. The
can't zoom in what
spirals.
I have, but yeah, it's really cute. It's a nice photograph. I'm happy for the both of them. It's nice to see some nice light news. I'm like, after last night, I watched the debate. I
God.
was like, I just need a palate cleanser. This is exactly what I need.
We won't dwell on it, but I couldn't. I mean, like I read the summaries and I heard the news and I heard what happened, but like I couldn't. I didn't want to watch it.
No, you
I was
you
gonna get
you
sad.
spared yourself 90 just train wrecks of a minute.
Okay, stop it. We're going
It's
too
time to move on. It's
sad.
time to move on.
We're here to talk about happy things, and congratulations to Sophie
Yeah.
Turner, Joe Jonas, Kit Harington, Rose Leslie, and also Hafthor Julius Bjornsson, who played the Mountain, Great Mountain Clegane, aka the guy who crushed Pitcher Paul's
Oh,
Call to
you,
death, also
you
had
don't
a
have
new
to tell
son.
me.
It's like Game of Thrones babies all over the
Yeah.
place,
A
which is
toast to
just fun.
them.
A new generation who will one day go on to play their kids in Game of Thrones 2, long,
Oh,
long,
yeah.
long down the line. It'll be a good time.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, okay, so now that the fun part is over, I thought we'd shift into some uh I'm gonna call them juicy topics for this week because there are some interesting things going on in kind of the streaming Game of Thrones um television sphere. So the past couple of weeks we had talked about how Game of Thrones showrunners David Benioff and Dan Weiss were going to adapt a new show for Netflix. They were going to adapt the ThreeBody Problem, which is this very successful science fiction book trilogy out of China by author Liu Zhijin. Not sure I'm saying it right, but we're just going to go with it and see what happens. Very big, very successful. Like the rights been kind of bouncing around for a while, and they landed at Netflix, and Benioff was going to do it. So that sounded interesting. I mean, we were all like, I don't want to see them do another thing. I was excited about it. I've heard great things about the book series for a long time.
Yeah, I was interested.
And then in like last week, in a rare move, Netflix got a letter from several Republican U.S. senators basically saying we have some problems with you going forward with this sci-fi trilogy. I might be asking, why would senators be concerned about a science fiction show at Netflix? Why would they bother writing? But they did. I mean, there were Martha McSally from Arizona, one of them all, Marsha Black from Tennessee, Rick Scott from Florida, Kevin Kramer from, from North Dakota. Sorry, I looked at R and I was like, Rhode Island? No, North Dakota. And Tom Tillis from North Carolina. All sent a letter basically saying, we're concerned over this because, and here's where things get naughty and bizarre. And hey, Lori, glad to have you here. The author, Liu Zhijin, has in the past expressed support for the Chinese Communist Party's detention of the nation's Uyghur Muslim minority. And it's pretty well documented that in China, in the Xinjiang region, kind of the northwestern part of the country, I'm not a political scientist, but they've basically built internment camps. They built internment camps and they're keeping members of the Uyghur Muslim minority there. It's a very dystopian, kind of creepy thing. Like they're imprisoning them, even though they haven't committed any crimes. Like the inside of the camps are these like really weird, like Orwellian re-education camps where they're like showed Chinese propaganda. They're not allowed to like practice their religion. It's really, it's awful. It's terrible stuff. And this author, Liu Zhijin, said, I think last year in a New York interview, I won't read his quote, but basically he was like, yeah, well, I'm in support of this. Would you rather they be out there like hurting people? So the concern was basically, we're concerned over this show because Liu Zhijin is involved as a consulting producer, last I checked. And it wasn't quite clear if they wanted to like just cut him out of the show or to stop doing the show entirely. They just kind of expressed concern, which is rare, right? I mean, how often do senators write to Netflix or Amazon or Disney to like say, please stop what you're doing or consider what you're doing? Did senators get on it?
I think they did. Somebody did.
I think you're right. Yeah, I heard about that.
The what do you call it? Ted Cruz, I think, might have been somebody. And Tulsi, however you say her last name. I know she at least tweeted about it. So it's like kind of now Netflix is getting 2 hits back to back, which is like, ooh.
I'm not sure what they did about cuties, but Netflix did respond after a couple of days to them, basically saying 2 things. I mean, the upshot is they're not going to do anything. They're going to keep going forward. And they're saying, A, Liu Zhijin didn't create the show. Benioff, Weiss, Alexander Wu did. And 2, his comments have nothing to do with the show. I mean, the story is about Earth's contact with an alien race.
Yeah.
And told over like generations. It sounds pretty interesting, to be honest. It does have scenes set during the Chinese Cultural Revolution of the 60s and 70s, which was a very turbulent time in the country's history, which had kind of similar stuff going on, which is weird, right? Because you figure like, because he lived through that thing, and it's like, and you can't find some empathy, but I don't know his life, and I don't know Chinese history. Like, let's put that out there right now.
No, yeah, me neither. Yeah.
Very well, anyway. But they're not going to do anything saying that he's not involved with the show, and his comments have nothing to do with the show. So I guess the question for the group and for you, Mia, is what is Netflix's responsibility? what are Benioff and Weiss' responsibility? How do you handle that kind of situation where geopolitics gets involved in Netflix sci-fi shows?
Yeah.
It's a big question, I know.
It really is. And it feels like the J.K. Rowling debate all over again, where it's like, how far do you separate the ideas of the author from the story and everything else wrapped up in that?
I know, Lori, it's bizarre. You're joining us.
Yeah. And it's like, this is another one of those parts where I'm like, it's one of those debates where I really don't know what to think, just because to me, I love good stories, I love good content,
right.
But then it's like, to what degree of, when you do support someone with these sorts of thoughts and ideas, can you go out and back them up? How much of your involvement means that you're backing them up or backing up their ideas or endorsing their ideas? Which is reminding me of, I believe, like, Disney was under fire for Mulan because they had filmed in that region. Kind of the
same thing. Yeah, they filmed in the region where the camps are.
And I think somebody was like, well, they filmed before the news had broke or something about it.
Oh no,
and I was like,
it's been out there.
That sounded kind of weird. And then they also had a controversy with Mulan because Liu Yifei was, I believe, against the Hong Kong protests.
Yeah.
And kind of more in favor of the
other side.
Yeah, basically. Again, which I'm like, I'm not a world news person. I try to know as much as I can. But yeah, when it intersects with entertainment, I try to know as best as I can. So yeah, again, it was like I watched Mulan because it was a big movie.
Was it good?
I wouldn't say it was bad. No, it wasn't. Yeah. But yeah, and again, it's like, just because I'm watching this movie, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm supporting the main actress's beliefs. But then again, the main actress isn't like the author of the story and the creator or the producer. So I'm just gonna, like, my system is gonna overload and the Mia bot is gonna shut down.
Oh yeah, it's so naughty. And I love that word. If anybody out there has any opinions, I'd love to hear them. Lori, wait, what have I missed with her? Do you mean Turner and Leslie and stuff? They're all pregnant. Everyone's pregnant. It's great. In terms of this stuff, I do agree that the J.K. Rowling comparison is apt. I mean, frankly, I think like this kind of thing is just evidence of how the wall between a creator and their work is kind of doesn't really exist anymore. Like, there was a time when, like, before 24-hour media, before social media, when you could have an opinion, it was very controversial, but like the chance to get it out there in front of a lot of people was just not that big. Yeah. And now, because you're either getting a microphone shoved in your face, or when you don't have one, just going to Twitter and tweet, typing it out. Like, you can just say whatever you want to anybody. And I think what we're learning is that creators are, they're not really exceptions to the rule that you can have rancid opinions.
Yeah.
I do think it doesn't quite reach the level of a J.K. Rowling thing, if for no other reason because, well, I guess two. A, Liu Zhijin just isn't the name J.K. Rowling is.
Yeah.
Like, she's just this monolithic, just, she and Harry Potter's inseparable.
Right.
Whereas I'm not sure you could like use Liu Zhijin's name to sell any next thing, really.
No,
like the
right
next
now.
thing from Liu Zhijin. And the other thing is, he hasn't written a manifesto yet about this issue, which was kind of the tipping point for me with Rowling. Like, when she was just doing the tweets, I was like, this is not good. But I mean, I'm not gonna I'll probably keep my Harry Potter books or whatever. After the long, incredibly detailed manifesto, I was like, all right, I gotta do some thinking.
Yeah. That's the thing. Yeah, for this author, I really don't know anything about them besides now that they have this book. So yeah, two very different people, clearly. obviously at different stages in their career. Yeah, I'm trying to like rationalize with Netflix's reasoning, because they're like, okay, didn't create the show, it's Benioff and Weiss, and his comments have nothing to do with the show. But yeah, that's like saying
5 out of 100%, honestly.
yeah, it's like, well, yeah, J.K. Rowling's trans comments have nothing to do with Harry Potter, or did they? Because sometimes she finds a way to add in those little things into the.
I mean,
into
it's
her
like
canon.
once you hear it, you can't not see it.
Yeah.
Almost like
Yeah,
no matter
basically.
what you're doing. And Laura, you asked about what the Rowling controversy.
Oh, yeah.
It's a long saga. Basically, she came out with some pretty bigoted anti-trans, like not just comments, like really committed, like thought through positions on it. And she's been getting a lot of heat for it. And just kind of bringing up the conversation of when does an author's work like stop and when do their opinions begin? And like, is there a gradient between them? Can you separate them all? And again, I think we're only going to have more of those questions like from now on, like while we have social media and while we have 24-hour media, like you just can't avoid it. Personally, I'm okay with what Netflix is doing now. I think it could change. I think every situation is different, but I think like I am willing to look past if you make some dumb comments. Like if again, I didn't like Rowling's tweets. If she had just left it at the tweets, I certainly wouldn't be as hardcore about it as I am now. Like, cause like, look, everybody says some stupid stuff. You can learn, you can grow, et cetera, et cetera. It was her going ahead and like leaving no room for doubt that made it hard.
I know.
With Liu Zhijin, again, I don't know him very well. I'm okay with. I mean, I'm not okay with it, but one errant quote I don't think is reason enough to, you know, maybe torpedo what could be a very satisfying story. And it is true. I mean, he's not involved in the show. It's going to be other people. So I'm okay with it for right now. But I mean, again, I think it depends and it changes depending on what happens.
Yeah. I am. That's the thing. It's like this was something that I was like, okay, I probably would be interested in watching it. You know, I like sci-fi and stuff.
Yeah, it looks
like
good.
that,
I mean, it sounds interesting.
Yeah,
I still plan to read it unless something other horrible happens.
Yeah. Well, let's just hope that maybe it just doesn't get that bad. I hope for that every day, that things just don't get that much worse.
We're all hoping. Well, then you'll love our next story. Let's talk some Disney, which is the company that just like keeps giving with the one hand and taking with the other. And I mean, today they announced that they had cast someone as Ms. Marvel, which is going to be, a pretty important one of their many Disney Plus shows coming up. Exciting though. They just cast She-Hulk, Tatiana Maslany. They're gonna have a show involving Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury. Like they're lining up all these shows, these big shows. But they also announced they were laying off 28,000 Disney Parks employees, which again, I mean, it's not hard to think of why they would do that. Coronavirus is here. The parks, at least the ones in California, are closed down. The others are operating at limited capacity. Not as much money coming in. You're going to have to fire people. But God, that sucks. Sucks. 28,000 people laid off.
And the sad thing is I don't recall if this was a New York Times video or something else, one of those kind of, prestigious, they put on YouTube videos, where they had gone to Disney World or Disneyland to interview some of the park, I guess, park employees basically. And they were like, it's really sad. I think they were maybe in Anaheim in California, and they were like,
that's where they are, right? The big
Disneyland,
California parks,
everything. And they were like, it's kind of sad here that we are, really underpaid. You've got a woman who's been working there for years. She loves Disney to death, but the paycheck was not reflecting that she's working on the happiest place on earth, which is like,
happy.
And then to see somebody like Bob Iger, I think at one point it was when he got a raise and that had become really public. And that was just, really not fair to see from the top, being so financially supported. And then once it comes down to the funding for the people in Disney parks, they get very little. I don't know what their salaries or hourly pay was, but no one is like, oh, it's so it pays to work as a Disney park, cast member, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah, the thing with like I mean, look, we try not to get too political on this show, but
I gotta look that up.
It does get a little frustrating when you read, okay, Disney's laid off 28,000 people, and then you also read last month they upped the executive salary, kicked it back up after they'd cut up by the corona, and the average there is like $250,000 a year. It's like, God, man, you couldn't like spread a little of that around.
Yeah.
But I don't know their balance sheet. Like, I'm not gonna condemn them too hard. But I mean, God, sometimes it's just hard to get too excited about fun things happening in the entertainment space when you hear news like this. Obviously, I'm very sorry for everybody.
Yeah, this was the New York Times. This is from 2 years ago, which for me it seems like way longer because 2 years ago now is stretched. It's called "Why These Disneyland Employees Can't Afford Rent," and the tagline was, "These Disney employees are struggling Disney parks to get by and fighting to pay a living wage." There was a living wage ballot, which was a measure in Anaheim. So I don't know how that ballot went through or anything like that. But I mean, this was only 2 years ago. So not that much time, since this video came out. So yeah, like you said, it's weird. There's the magic side of Disney, and then there's we're going to make some chops and changes.
I mean, it's just weird, right? Like I mean, I get they can't stop announcing things, but they announced a new Lion King reboot, remake, prequel, whatever, by Moonlight by Jenkins, who I'm excited to see because I do love that movie a lot.
Oh
Moonlight, it's great. I'm guessing he's gonna just. I mean, look, you don't make a Disney live action remake movie to get art to like fulfill your artistic ambitions. So I'm thinking it's gonna be maybe fun but disposable. Yeah. And then on the same day, and then they announced like, oh, we cast Ms. Marvel, we cast She-Hulk, and then they announced the thousands of layoffs. It's a time of contrast, is what it is.
Basically, yeah.
A time of contrasts.
Yeah, someone was like, why would you, announce all these layoffs? Then at the same time, you're announcing that you're gonna make this movie with, cost millions and millions of dollars. I mean, to be honest, I think we could all go without a Lion King prequel. I think there's already a perfectly good animated one already. Was it? I saw Simba's Pride trending.
Oh, okay. Those are so fascinating. Those were like back when Disney was not what it's like today.
Those were the direct to video.
Yeah, they would never do that now.
No, Bob Iger was actually the one who put that, like, he stopped that whole thing. He was like, this is crap, guys. Yeah. You have to stop this.
Because it was like cheap. It was like, what if we're Disney but we're cheap? Which, businesses go through cycles, and now they're landing to cost people. Yeah. It's okay. We got to get onto a happier topic. This is really what we've just been dragging down. We started good, happy pregnancies, and now we're just being very depressed and talking about the economy. Okay, Mia, are you watching anything? Is anybody out there who's watching us watching anything or reading or enjoying something on the television, the movies, in a book form? Mia, how about you? What are you watching?
I'm still watching this little show called Lovecraft Country.
I am too.
They are 7 episodes in. I can't believe it. This last episode, I'll go first. This last episode was pretty fascinating because we always talk about the genre change of each of these episodes. And this one started out normal, and then it was like, and now we're going to go sci-fi. And I was like,
2001 A Space Odyssey. Nonsense stuff. I thought it was great. I will say, Lori, you're saying that it seems like they're recycling the same movies over and over. I agree. I will say this Lovecraft Country show, the best thing about it, I'm still watching on HBO, is I never really know where they're going to go next. Like this last episode was Hippolyta, following a trail of breadcrumbs to a magical observatory, trying to like untangle these knots of what her family's keeping from her. And then going on like psychotropic journey through time and space where she occupies different identities. Like she's a Xena warrior princess right there, or she's a flapper
yeah.
with Josephine Baker in I don't know what era that was. She's a space explorer with like special effects charmingly modeled after like 1950s Flash Gordon kind of like serials. It was such a wide-ranging episode that just covered so many different ideas. Like this show never runs out of ideas.
I know.
I feel like each week the show takes all of my attention pretty much. And it always feels like it goes by really, really quickly. And you said like episode 7 already. It does feel quick because I'm never, ever, ever bored with this show.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that I also have the same feeling. I was definitely more excited by the first part. It seemed like they just had some business to get out the way. Like, okay, we got this plot, the Atticus and all these things. But when I was like, if they had just done a whole episode on Hippolyta and just had it be her whole like discovering, I was like, it reminded me of Doctor Who. I've been fidgeting with this. I got like a TARDIS keychain right here. I've been fidgeting with that. So Doctor Who fan over here. I absolutely, just love the idea of her going, to these different places and really, she was really embedded in the culture. Like with the flapper days, being a dancer, they didn't really tell you how long she was there, but it was like, it seemed like she was there for a while. She got to know everybody. Then she was
that first scene was hilarious, right? When she first gets strapped into it and she's like too shell shocked to actually the dancing, but French people are like, do the dances. She's
like, okay. The warrior scene I love reminded me of Black Panther a lot because, you had the women warriors. I was like, yes, I 100% love that. And then just that cosmic...
like Wonder Woman 5.
Yeah. At the end where she met like the cosmic goddess out in space. That was such a beautiful scene. It was really, really a lot of beautiful details and all that stuff. So Lovecraft Country Chronicles, we have an interview with the cinematographer who recorded these episodes. You got to hear him. You got to hear this episode because I'm like, props to you, dude. You really did awesome.
Yeah, that was an impressive one. Yeah. As Lori says, she's watching Ratchet. How's that, Lori? Because I've heard that's interesting. And waiting for Supernatural. I am too. We've definitely covered Supernatural on Wick. We're going to review it. I'd like to have Monique, who reviews it for us, come on and be talking about it because that show's ending after like 15 seasons, I think.
I know. I never thought I would see the day.
Did you ever watch it?
Yeah, I have a friend who's super duper into it. So while we were in college, I like started watching season like 8, 9, and 10 maybe. I tried to watch the beginning. It started off really slow for me, and then after I realized characters were just gonna die over and over again, and I was like, I have to get out of this because it felt like it was never gonna end. But yeah,
well, it is.
Yeah, I was like, wow, the time has come. So yeah, like I said, I'm curious to see what happens at the end of Supernatural, how it all pans out because I know the characters, I like them, and yeah, that's bittersweet.
What?
No, go ahead before I switch topics.
I was gonna say it's always cool to see a long running series, like what they'll do to have the big finish. Like The Walking Dead is position now of how do you end an 11-year like super popular zombie series. We're gonna find out pretty soon. Yeah. I also started to watch The Boys, partly at your recommendation. I mean, frankly, everyone's been telling me that I should be watching it. It clearly kind of caught on the second season. The Boys is on Amazon. This show about what if superheroes were complete assholes and use their powers for nothing but evil and were going to completely corrupt and they had to be taken down. Like what if the Justice League was the Injustice League but in secret, which is just such a good idea, especially for now. This show is made for now, like when there are so many wholesome superhero things going on, when you got the Avengers and you got the DC stuff. Even if Superman cracks a neck or two, like ultimately he's supposed to be a good guy. Like this is the exact right time to have like a counter superhero show like this. And it's fun. Like to see basically Superman, like Homelander's like Superman knockoff on the show.
Homelander's my favorite character.
Oh, he's everyone's favorite. Like being like the absolute worst. Just just killing everyone left or right, just looking good but being an absolute shithead inside.
Yeah.
It's very entertaining. Yeah,
It is. Yeah. It's
Free
kind of
gonzo.
weird. It's like it makes you see superheroes just in general kind of weird, but for me it even it played with my perception of reality. Did you get to the, I think this was like episode 2, the hospital visit scene with the child, like the Make-A-Wish?
Oh, I actually skipped season 1 and went right to season 2. I didn't
How
want
do you do
to.
something like that?
I didn't want to bother with all the build-up. I just wanted to get into the parts people told me were good.
Oh, come on. Well,
I know what it basically is. Superheroes, they're bad. Other people want to take them down.
I
It's
don't
not
know. I
hard.
think you're missing out. Well, they do, if you haven't caught on by now, they do things right for the publicity, basically. They're doing it
Yeah.
for points, they're doing it for show. So I was looking at an old clip where Tom Holland, Spider-Man was visiting a hospital, and I was like, I really hope he's doing this out of the goodness of his heart and not for popularity points. Like, way to go, Holland. You're up 2 points in the ratings today. Keep it going.
I mean,
I'm gonna hope that these people are pure-hearted, but it makes you think.
superheroes as celebrities. And again, I kept wondering when the superhero boom might burn itself out because there was so much stuff. And the answer is folk are just getting creative. The Umbrella Academy and The Boys are both examples of just, we're not going to stop making superhero things. We're just going to make different ones, coming at it from different angles. So The Boys is, what if superheroes are the absolute worst? And the Umbrella Academy is kind of, what if superheroes, but they're all highly dysfunctional and would rather not be superheroes, which kind of like an old-fashioned Marvel idea. But to Marvel
Doom Patrol
movies,
too,
Doom Patrol too. So they're just getting kind of different. And I mean, again, they haven't exhausted themselves creatively yet, so bring it on, I guess. We just have really appetite for this stuff. As shaking my head, Dan. Why? What did I do? Was it the curse? I shouldn't have cursed. That
Go
was
watch
no.
it. This is Lori.
Okay.
Ratchet. We've got a lot of
Ratchet
comments.
says it's interesting. Yeah, Sarah Paulson's really good in it. Sarah Paulson is excellent, so I'm not surprised at that. And as Janae says, just binge The Expanse. Really enjoyed it. The Expanse is my next thing I've got to watch. I watched the first season, and then I just stopped because I kind of got into other things. But I got to get back into it because everyone tells me it's great too. Yeah. And also, again, we're finally into The Last Kingdom in a big way on Netflix. Really deep in. We're watching an episode or 2 a day now. It finally got its hooks in me proper, and I am enjoying it. Good historical drama with a lot of Game of Thrones aspects, but minus all the supernatural stuff. So it's just that era of history with the swords and the shields and the castles and the Viking invaders and you're trying to defend England, and very well written, well paced, really well acted. And the third season, they clearly got a bigger budget, which is nice. So they can have more than 8 people and call it an army. So yeah, that show's going wonderfully. And The Boys also got a spinoff, which is
that's right, yeah. Which I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about that. I like things to just be self-contained, but I'm sure, whatever. Just go ahead and do it. I have no say. I am but a meager, tiny human.
I mean, you know me. On the Wit Club this month, we talked about the mega franchises, and I'm freaking out about how we all have so many shows on at once. And frankly, I look at this and yeah, you're only 1.5 seasons and you're already having a spinoff. Come on, man. The Witcher 2 has 2 spinoffs on the way. They're only 1 season old. I think this trend is, I guess not bad necessarily, but opportunistic in a way that rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah.
At least the least you could do if you're going to give us 18 shows, at least be 30 years old yourself, a really old franchise. But no.
No, they're.
Lori asked about Outlander. I have not seen Outlander. That's one I haven't. We've had Ariba Buvad, who watches Outlander, on the show a couple of times. I'm sure we'll have her on again, but I probably should get into it myself. What about you, Amanda? Do you have any Outlander desires?
Not necessarily. I do kind of like the idea of it. Sounds really sweet. It's just another one of those things where it's
romance.
Yeah.
I like history, I like romance. And yes, Lori, too many spinoffs. I agree. And Stephanie, a lot of folks say The Expanse is like GOT in that it's a lot of kind of scheming and factions battling each other, but in space. Game of Thrones in space. Honestly, I watched the first season. I'm not sure I entirely buy that. It's less diffuse. I like the way Game of Thrones kind of successfully managed to have lots of different characters all doing different things across different parts of the world. The Expanse is a little more straightforward, like, here's our heroes, let's follow them. But it was good, and I haven't watched all of this. I want to watch more.
What's The Expanse on?
It was on Sci-Fi, and then they canceled it, and Amazon picked it up.
Okay, that's what. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Any other thing you're watching or reading want to talk about, Mia?
No, I'm not. I've got both of my Enola Holmes novels in the mail, which I see has been rated for school children. But seeing as my sisters are the age that they say should be reading this book, I'm like, I think it's fine. I haven't seen them pick up a book in a while, so maybe I'll share it with them when I'm done.
There you go. Perfect. And speaking of books, next week, just our last little plug here. It's not even our thing, but it is cool. Oh, and Stephanie, what do you think about Vikings? I loved it. I haven't watched Vikings either. I gotta have Corey Smith of Wick on here. He loves Vikings. I'll have him on here sometime. He can talk about it. Because Vikings is another one. There's a lot of TV out there, okay, guys?
No, I know.
I can't watch it all. There's too much. But there's a book coming out next week. The full title of which is, it's really long. Fire Cannot Kill a Dragon, the official untold story of the epic series Game of Thrones, written by James Hibbard, who is Entertainment Weekly's longtime Game of Thrones guy. He went to the set, he talked to all the people, he interviewed everyone for this thing, for this book. It's full of quotes from the stars, the writers, the producers, and they've been releasing excerpts. And they've been really good, especially for a Game of Thrones nerd like me. They're great. We talked about the Lady Stoneheart thing a couple weeks ago, where they talked about why they cut her. They just had a big thing about the Battle of Blackwater, the making of it, and Lena Headey and Leon Cunningham all weighed in on what it was like to do. Peter Dinklage was there weighing in on it. They just had the thing where George R. R. Martin named his least favorite scene of the entire series. It was this little, no one remembers it scene from the first season where King Robert goes hunting with his brother and his guard. And it was a pretty small scene. And his problem was in medieval times, they should have had 100 people and dogs and horns and tents. It was just 4 guys going hunting. That's not realistic. So that was his beef with that.
I know. I always had a problem with that scene, Dan. How could you not have realized that?
I think you're being sarcastic, and I can't prove it, but I'll try.
No. Sarcasm is here.
I mean, and back then, the budget wasn't what it became, so they couldn't afford dogs and 100 guys and everything. But interesting. And I mean, if the book is full of more stuff like that, I mean, I don't want to pressure you guys, but it feels like it's almost like a must-have for Game of Thrones fans. I'm definitely going to get it. Hopefully I can get a free copy. If you listen to HBO, hello. And we'll see what happens. As Richard says, yes, I stopped watching after I saw that unrealistic hunting scene.
Yeah.
I came close, but I pressed on.
2 out of 10 would not recommend.
As Stephanie says, I got to get that book. Thank you. I never knew about it. I'm a GOT addict. Yeah, Stephanie, it looks good. Again, I don't like to push products on this, but it looks really good.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty excited about it. I believe October 6th it comes out. So next Friday.
Hold up. Can we get the picture up again one more time?
Or next week it comes out.
There we go.
Yeah, Fire Cannot Kill a Dragon. The official untold story of Game of Thrones on shelves next week. Mia, anything else you want to talk about? Anything anyone else wants to talk about before we sign off for the week?
I think I'm all tapped out of ideas. We had a great conversation. We had some highs, we had some lows, but overall, I think we finished strong.
Yeah, I hope we didn't depress anybody too much with all that talk about responsibility and corporate malfeasance. Yeah. But if you did, go watch an episode of Game of Thrones and get back in a good mood. Mm-hmm. One of the happy ones. All right, well, thanks for watching us. I am Dan Selcke of winnerscoming.net, here with Mia Johnson of dorksideoftheforce.com.net. What is it?
.com.
And we are here every Wednesday at 4 o'clock Central Standard Time to talk all things fantasy, sci-fi, TV, movies, Game of Thrones, Star Wars, lasers, swords, etc., and so forth. Horses, maybe, time travel, historical epics, and so on and so forth. Hope to see you right back here on our Facebook page next Wednesday at 4 p.m. Have a great day, and thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.